All right, now being 6:32, I will call the Sterling Planning Board meeting to order, Thursday, March 28th, 2024. All right, first thing on the agenda tonight will be a continuation of a public meeting for 110 Worcester Road, for Twins Landscaping. So, Brandon, you got anything else that you want to say?
If I may beforehand, I'll need to recuse myself from this again. As for the same stated reasons.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, nothing new to add. We just made the requested changes to the plan. We added in the agreed upon fence to the area as well as the arborvitaes, and then just the other requested changes, additions, etc.
Okay, so let's just go over them. Let's go over them one at a time.
Do you want a bigger copy? You have
I got
That's
this.
The most recent
this
one.
is fine for
okay.
now. Yeah, this is fine. So, okay, let's see. So, just to update everybody, at the last meeting, we had numerous things that were deficient on the plan, so we created a list. We gave it to the property owner here, and the changes have been made to the plan. Let's go over them one at a time and make sure everything's okay.
So
I got them written down here, Brandon. So, let's start off with the notation for the fence.
Okay, so we'll see dark. So dark line with X's is going to be the solid white vinyl fence.
Yep.
There's also going to be a little section here, and then this is the existing chain link fence noted over here that's getting the fence slats.
Yep.
They're actually already
which
installed.
I've seen you've already done.
We need to cut the top so they look nice, but they're installed.
Okay.
And the rest of the property is prepared for the fence, so we did take out some brush. Fence will be installed on Monday.
Yep. Okay. So that one's all
Well,
set.
between Monday and Wednesday.
Say that again?
It'll be installed between Monday and Wednesday.
What's that now?
The fence.
The white fence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next week.
Okay. All right. So we'll go back to that.
Okay.
All right. So then you have your. So the next would be correct the address of the building. I see you did that.
And it's corrected in the bottom.
It says 110.
Yeah.
All right. The next one would be your accessible aisle from your handicap. See, you've got that.
Yeah.
Show the arborvitaes and state that they're 6 feet tall and will be spaced 6 feet apart.
I think it's number 5 on here.
Okay, you got that. Stamp on the plan, you've got that. I did all the calculation for parking, and I came up with 11 spaces. Looking at your final plan here, you've got 12, so you actually exceed by by 1 spot, so you're good there. Change the note to commercial and groundwater protection districts. You did that. Okay, so it appears the things that we had that were not there from the last meeting are here now, and the plan is stamped.
Yeah. I added a few things too. The mailbox, the mailbox and the signposts are also missing, so I added those in.
Okay.
Just for accuracy.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on this plan at all? Everybody, anything they see that it doesn't have? All right, let's look at the...
Mr. Chair, question?
I'll wait till you guys are finished, but I can have.
Okay, yep, just give me a second, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a list of conditions here. So why don't we read through the site-specific conditions? I think the other ones are just standard items. So let's go with the site-specific. So per section 301.3272 of the protective bylaw, there shall be no backing of vehicles onto or from a public way. Agree with that? Yep. 7, per section 301.466, table 46610 of the protective bylaws, none of the outdoor bins can be used for the storage of de-icing chemicals except where the bins are graded and enclosed to prevent the generation and escape of runoff or leachate.
So we're agreeing to that, we're not storing salt. If we ever did, it would be in this back corner on the paved surface, but we're not gonna store salt.
Okay. 8, so time and conditions, when to install the landscaping and fencing. So let's get that.
Yes,
Let's
I
get that
think
together
we
right
had
now.
agreed to 6 months for the fence, that was kind of our,
Well, we were splitting it up. We were
Well,
going 3 and 3.
it's all gonna be done next week. So we don't even have to, I guess we can say 3 months, because the abrevieties aren't gonna be in yet. So
Right.
can we say 3 months for the abrevieties?
We can.
They'll probably be in before then, but
Okay, so what I'm gonna say here to keep it simple is within 3 months on the fencing and the arborvitae's.
Perfect.
So if you're doing it next week or the week after, that's fine,
okay.
okay? So the timing for the conditions of landscaping and fencing, specifically the arborvitae's. Will be within 90 days. But we applaud that you're going to do them within the next week or two.
The abrevieties might be a little longer.
Right, I
Yeah.
understand that, but the fence,
The
that's the
fence.
important part.
The fence is already, it's already on the books for Monday, yep.
Okay. Okay. Any questions on these conditions, any of the board members?
I'd like to see maybe all, compliance with all of 4.6, just because it's in the groundwater and there's specific, if you do go to the salt, you have to follow that 4.6.
Yeah, where it's colored.
But there's other things in
Yeah.
there if you did change what you did or something.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things in there.
Okay, that's fine.
And
So
we
let's
have to go
reword
to
that.
DCR and everything, so like,
Yeah.
that's just why we're kind of staying away from it,
Yeah.
right? We have a separate salt yard in Worcester that's more near a lot of our salting properties anyway, so it doesn't make sense for us to come back here to get our salt.
Must comply with 4.6 in its entirety. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, open to the public. Roseanne, you have a
Hi,
question?
my name is Roseanne Mapp. I'm on 33 Taft Road. I have a few concerns about this. I was really shocked last week when I drove down Route 12 and I saw yet another landscaping place. There's 4 in a row. 4. I mean, this, you know, not all landscaping, but, you know, disruption of, this is our town. And I see that they're going to put up, I hear today that they're going to put up a fence and some arborvitae's, which I'm very pleased that they'll do that. And that was one of my concerns, and I know that they have every right to do what they want on a property that they own. However, and it sounds like they're taking the taxpayers and the aesthetics of Sterling into consideration, which I'm pleased about that. But again, I'm really concerned about what our town is turning into. I mean, it's just a pit. You know, you got you know, mining over there and landscaping. You got onyx on the other side of town. This is, what do we want to be as a town? What do we want to be? Yes, we need commercial and, you know, development and stuff like this, but is this really what we need? And is this really what people want in town, based on the master plan and all these other things? I'm just concerned, just really concerned. And how many trucks is this going to put on the road in Sterling, going through town? All of these things, the factors are really important to, you know, people who live there, you know, in the straight of town, on 62, on 140, all of these places. I mean, I don't live there, so it affects me too, because this is my town and my taxes and paying for the roads and things like that if there's heavy equipment going back and forth. And what do we want to be?
Well, it is commercially zoned, and it is by special permit, which they did get the special permit to do that on that location from the ZBA. So, and then here, we're going to require the fencing and the landscaping to beautify and shield, so to speak. So when you drive by, it will be consistent, that building with the next one, the fence company, and then you got Mackey's after that. So it will be consistent with those. It will have some landscape and fencing.
Now, is this person also taking over the House of the Thousand Nips?
No.
Because that's another eyesore.
And that belongs to somebody else. So
I know it
I don't
does.
know what the Noyes family has planned for that. I have no idea.
It's been in the same state of affairs for years now. And again, I'm just concerned about the aesthetic of the town I live in. You know, if we want to bring in development and some nice shops and that sort of thing in this town, do you think people are going to want to drive through that crap? It looks like an old New Hampshire town. That should be on the outskirts. It should be on Chalkset Road or somewhere over there, but not on the main road coming into our town.
Some of those places up there have been there for awful.
I understand, but doesn't mean we need to add more. That's all I'm saying, but they passed, you gave them permission. And the zoning board, do they communicate with you guys before they do something like that? I mean, there's got to be communication in this town between boards and committees and that sort of thing. So one hand knows what the other is doing and what's coming up the pike, and do the people want it?
Well, one of the things we are trying to do is we are trying to get the commercial aspect of special permits like that into the planning board so that we have all of it here. The residential, at this point, we're trying to get the commercial over.
Right.
So that we won't have to worry about communicating with one board requiring one thing and then the next board that might interfere with what they need to require, and then it's not coming out right. So we are working on that. When we go through all our zoning changes and updates and whatnot, we'll be working on that.
I know Stephen's been working on that, but, you know, again, it's, you know, things run in really slow motion. And again, it's lack of communication between boards and committees and that sort of thing that I really am kind of fed up with it because it's so important in communicating to the people. I didn't know anything about this until I drove down Route 12. And much to my surprise, I see these big, huge cinder blocks, you know, and you know what it is when you're down there, but I didn't see it anywhere in any written communication from the town.
Well, it was advertised. It was advertised here at the town hall. It was advertised in the
Both for the zoning board and for us.
paper, and so it was advertised.
Okay.
It was advertised. It has to be.
Well, it's the first I'm seeing of it, and I'm sure many other people in town it's the same, because most of us don't get newspapers other than the Meeting House Hill News now. And
It's on the website, and and then they post it in the hallway.
it's good if you come
And I know
into
you're
town.
always in the hallway, so.
You know, yeah, I'm always in the hallway, right? But, you know, again, if you, the website, if you go into the website for a particular purpose, fine. But if you don't know there's a particular purpose, what good is it? Thank you.
You're welcome. Bill?
Joe Chesarosa, 16 Road. Just through the zoning board minutes for this application was that there was supposed to be no touching of the buffer, and I grant I think you're doing a better job of updating that. But day one, when they went there, brush was cut down. Day one that they got there, when they promised the zoning board that they weren't going to touch the buffer at all. I have pictures of it too. You know, just cutting down lower limbs and everything like that, which they said they weren't going to touch. But on the salt part of this, in the minutes again, they said they were not going to store any salt. I would love that stricken from any possibility of ever happening on that property, since they did say that they were not going to bring any on, didn't need to, and they were given approval by the zoning board partly because of that. So I just don't think it should be in there because there was no request for that to be part of the purpose of this.
Okay, well, with the edit that we're making, that the applicant must comply with 4.6610 in its entirety, that will prohibit any salt from being stored on the property.
And it shouldn't even be an option, you know, because in the future, maybe something might change and they could bring salt on there because of that changing of that rule or something like that. So it wasn't requested when they went for the zoning board, I just don't think it should be included now, since it's after the fact. And then about being notified about things going on in the town, I get bombarded by emails all day long. You just gotta sign up for them, and you'll be notified about every single agenda item, every single meeting, and read all of them. So that's, I mean, just for anybody, because I had the same problem going like, I didn't know this was going on. Now I know too much with the emails coming out. But I would recommend that we take the salt out, period. That's all, because it's not on here. It wasn't requested. But I do like the improvements on that road, you know, above and beyond what we did.
Okay. Okay. So I've written no salt on there, but it's in 4.6.10 anyways, that's a prohibited use, so, right?
Brian Klein, Bootsell Road. I'm interested to know if board members have a copy of the ZBA decision for the related to the special permit, if that's part of your packet. Does everybody have that? Is that reviewed by the planning board?
Yes, it's part of their package.
Okay.
We reviewed it.
Can we, like, step through their decision to make, like, if we're considering approval of the site plan, make sure that the site plan reflects their intent set forth in a public hearing, and then, you know, they have like essentially like an order of conditions, like line items delineated, and just that, you know, all that, we check those boxes. Is that possible?
Didn't you just do that?
We did that last week, actually,
No,
I mean, 2
I-
weeks ago,
but
at the last meeting.
The plan shows it.
Right,
Okay.
right.
The plan actually doesn't show the natural buffer as an
The
example.
natural buffer was supposed to stay according to the ZBA, but it's not there now.
Well,
So-
it was part of it was still there at the last meeting.
Right, but it's not there now, so,
Well, I mean, I went by fast today, but there's still some buffer.
hold on one
The
second,
question is to what extent, you know.
hold on one second, I just want to ask Brandon a question, so, why did you clear the buffer, was there a purpose?
In order to install a fence, we wouldn't have been able to install a fence without and this was a question we asked last time because it was a condition of our zoning board approval, but my understanding is that your decision can trump the zoning board decision in a case like this.
So this is a classic example of why this kind of thing needs to come to the planning board in its entirety, so we don't run into things like this. So when if the zoning board says we want you to do one thing, but then we want to do another thing, those things can conflict. Which one wins, okay? We wanted a fence around the whole place. We feel as though that's a better look, and we feel as though it's a better screening, and it's more consistent as you drive down Route 12, because the other companies were required to do the same thing.
And I don't
Other
question
than that, the other things that are in their decision for them on this project really don't have anything to do with what we have on our site plan right here.
Well, what I'm looking at right now is a document that I downloaded from the Worcester Registry of Deeds. It's associated with 110 Worcester Road. And
What's your concern? Just get to the point.
The concern is that it's, I mean, in so many words, it's almost like if you intend to use 110 Worcester Road as a location called Twins Landscape or whatever the company name is, it's almost like a deed restriction that natural buffer be present. That's how it reads. Yeah. And regardless of whether there's a ZBA and a planning board in Sterling, the Registry of Deeds says this is to be this.
ZBA regulates the use, planning board regulates the site. ZBA overstepped.
Okay, so
We
shouldn't
feel the
it go
fence
back
is
to
a
a
better
public?
buffer than the scrub that was there.
So where's the public fall in this when a mistake's made? How do we correct the mistake? And I'm not saying the balance that Carl's speaking to about the fence may be being a better solution than some small girth trees. It may be a better solution. It just doesn't read well. I'm like, whoa, there's a missing link here, and that's what concerns me. But I mean, specifically it reads, the existing trees and other vegetation along Jewett Road shall not be removed. That's line item 1 in the decision. Line item 2 is fencing will be installed along the northerly portion of the property that abuts Jewett Road facing the existing structure. And then, Carl,
That was a small- that was
and
a
the
small
point is
section.
that.
Hold on, one at a time, okay, I'll run the meeting, just hold on. That was a small section of fence that the ZBA required, okay? I'm assuming you're reading from the ZBA condition?
Yes, this is the downloaded decision from the ZBA, from the registry.
So that's a section of fence that they required, but now we're going to require the entire back of the property and side of the property and a section of the front of the property to be fenced in. So we expanded on that.
Right.
And in order to do that, if some of that scrub was in the way, it has to be removed in order to get the fence in there.
Right, right. And so since the last meeting, has the planning board been represented at the site? Like, I think, like how do, like from a on the ground standpoint, how, like I get how, like putting a fence through the trees the ZBA wanted to keep, at a certain point these things are mutually exclusive. You either put a fence in, you either remove some trees and put a fence in, or you just don't put a fence in. And I'm not questioning like the fence may be the best call, I get it.
Well, I think you're answering your question yourself.
Well, how do you do it? Are you doing it from a desk, or does Tony go there? Like, how does the process work for the town of Sterling? Does the building commissioner go there, or does Patty go there? Or how do we do like the assessment on the parcel to determine which trees get cut and which don't? Or does the applicant have to guess which trees they can cut? Because they're not just cutting a straight line where the fence goes. There's a lot of removal that happened, as far as I can tell.
It was all scrub, so that scrub was removed to put the fence in and have something that's appealing looking, so.
Okay.
I think that's what was done.
You think that was what was done, or like, do you know that's
Right, it's pretty obvious that it was done, okay, because it's not there.
So back to my question.
Nobody goes up there and pitches a tent and sleeps out on their parking lot to see what tree they're going to cut. They were in the way, it was scrubbed, and it was cleaned for the fence to be installed. That's what we're going to do.
I'm not trying to upset you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to understand, since the last meeting, what, has the board gone there as a board? Or has the commissioner gone there? Have any board members gone there? How does it get done? I want to know what the process is. I'm a taxpayer.
I don't know, yeah, but I don't understand what your problem is. The ZBA wanted the scrub there for a buffer, and we put in fence instead. That scrub wasn't going to offer any kind of buffer. The headlights would go through, the noise would go through, and we decided that the fence would make more sense. It's a cleaner site. It's going to contain the light and sound.
Some of the trees are over 12 feet tall, so I don't know if I fully agree, but.
But that's what we decided as a board.
It was a rotted tree that was cut down.
I understand. But it was more than one. So I just, and I'm voicing this concern because I'm hearing other people chatter about it, and they're not here. They're not represented here. That's, blame it on them. But I'm just like, wow. If I lived there and I didn't have a voice in a public hearing about what's going on, people might have showed up in October at the ZBA hearing, thought they had a voice, and then all of this is happening, and they're like, wow, I'm not sure I want to live in this town. I can vote with my feet. And, in democracy, I guess that's our final choice.
If they came to the planning board meeting, they'd understand what was done. They wouldn't have to guess.
Well, it happened outside the planning board meeting. It happened since the last planning board meeting. There was more removal.
Can I just ask a question there, because I think,
Yes, Roseanne?
I guess he's wondering, what is the process from the time the paperwork is submitted to you guys and the actual work? Is there any process for anybody in the town of Sterling, be it the, I don't know who, but goes and sees and makes sure that the work is done correctly?
Usually a peer review engineer.
And okay, so that was brought to your attention that the scrub was gone, and I just the process, I think that's makes it easier to understand. Thank you.
I was just,
Yep,
we did
Brandon.
consult with Ryan from the highway department, who was aware of all of the trees that we cut down. So we didn't just randomly cut down trees.
And
They were aware of.
is Ryan the tree warden?
The tree wood.
I was told he was the tree czar, but whatever you
That-
wanna call him.
That's what he's called the tree warden. So you had the right person is my point. So, and maybe Brian, that helps you out, that they were.
There's actually a couple more that have to come down too, maybe 2 or 3 that he said we could take down, the dead ones. So, and,
It's the ones you have the photographs of, right?
yeah, and he let us take down a few more too, because he said that we probably took down 6 decent sized ones in total because they were dead, and he said we could take them down.
And they had fallen on my car.
No, we saw that, you were the lucky one, right?
Yeah, so,
We left all the good ones, like, if you drive by, all the big ones, like the big alive ones are still there. We just took down all the dead ones.
I just have a request in future situations that tree removal of this magnitude not happen before the site plan's approved. I don't think we have an approved site plan yet. I mean, that's what we're here for, so I kind of feel like the cart's before the horse on this project, and that's probably my biggest single, most substantive concern.
It's fine, but I think it was understood at the last meeting that this fence was going to be a requirement, so.
Right, and my concern is the removal to prepare for the fence was not like a line. It was more than the line. And I get that a tree has a root system. If you want to yank it up, yank the tree up. That's in line of the fence, but more removal happened, and I think, and I get Ryan has a jurisdiction too with the tree warden role. But, you know, then we're kind of have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and Steven's got his hands full, and that's why he's in the mode he's in now. Thank you.
Very good. All right, so, all that being said, I'm satisfied with the revised site plan. I believe, after I've read these site-specific conditions, the applicant's in agreement with what we have here. So, at this point, I would welcome a motion that we approve the site plan with the conditions that I read for 110 Worcester Road, Twins Landscaping.
So moved.
Second.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No opposed. The ayes have it. So, I look forward to seeing the fence in the next couple of weeks. Get that done. Steve, you got anything?
no, you know the drill by now. I'll write up the decision tomorrow, get it to the board members and the applicant. You'll let me know of any errors or omissions. And once it's good to go, I'll have the chair come in and sign.
Very good. You're all set.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll take one of my plans back.
Sure.
You don't want any of them?
No, we got copies.
I got mine.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Steve's got the
See ya.
full size.
Good luck. Thank you.
Do a nice job. All right. Next thing up, we have a public hearing for adding partial bond release to the language of the planning board subdivision regulations. So I have a legal notice here I'll read. Town of Sterling Planning Board, notice of public hearing for proposed amendments to the subdivision rules and regulations. Notice is hereby given that the planning board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, March 28th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in room 205, Butterick Building, 1 Park Street, on amendments to the planning board subdivision rules and regulations. Revised chapter 401, section 401-13, performance guaranteed, to delete items 2B to C, and adding the new section 401-16.2, partial performance release. Full text of the proposed amendment can be reviewed at the planning department office during regular town office hours. Sterling Planning Board. So all that being read, I'll welcome a motion that we open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so I will just go over this. We've been on this a couple of times, revising language and working on it. So last time we spoke on this, a few meetings ago, we didn't think that section 401-15, well, I felt as though it did.
Why
Yes.
don't you explain conceptually what we're trying to do here?
Okay, so conceptually, what we're trying to do is, when a developer goes in and is putting in a subdivision, developing a site, a covenant has to be posted and a bond has to be given for any unfinished work in order to get a building permit. So the issue has always been that when the developer posts a bond, when that work is done, we had no language in our subdivision rules and regulations as to what to do. When the work is done, you have to give the money back for that particular work, and we had no language for that. So when it came time that a developer came in, there was always back and forth. Well, when do I get it? When don't I get it? Do I get it before the meeting? Do I get it after the meeting? How much do I get? How much don't I get? We had nothing to address the issue. So we put this together, a partial bond release to specify in simple language. It reads easy, it's simple, as to how it works if a developer wants a partial bond release for completed items on a subdivision so that they can get their building permit or get their money back for the work that's been done. So that's what we've been working on. It's an addition to what we had. There was nothing there that addressed it. And it was always a problem. So that's what we're trying to do. So last time we talked about it, section 401.15 had to be edited as well to reflect the 30% that would be retained until town meeting. So we had to go into that section and revise that, whereas at last meeting we were debating that. So that edit's been made. And if you want, let me read what the partial performance release language is. It's a new section, 401.16.2, partial performance release. Prior to the final release of the performance guarantee bond, the developer principal may request the planning board for a partial release of said bond. All requests must be in writing. Included in this request must be the name and address of the developer principal and name and address of the project for which the request is being made, and a copy of the recorded covenant, release, and bond item detail. The request must also include a written determination by the town of Sterling's peer review engineer that the items requested for release have been completed and found satisfactory. The determination must also include each item and their costs as listed on the recorded performance guarantee bond being requested for partial release. The planning board may grant no more than 2 partial releases from the required performance guarantee bond for completed work. Note that the 30% of the bond value specified under section 401.13, item A1, shall be retained until after town meeting road acceptance. No reduction in the amount of the performance guarantee bond shall reduce the performance guarantee bond value below the recorded estimated cost of completing the remaining unfinished work. Which basically means in that last paragraph, don't ask for more. You get only what's been completed. So that's simple language. It reads pretty easy, and it solves the issue of when somebody comes in looking for a partial release, that we have language that addresses the issue and a procedure that addresses the issue. And it should be very, very simple. So does anybody have any questions on that? After the public, does anybody have any questions on that? Mr. Padula?
The only question I have is, so, just for a number, you have $100,000 bond for the subdivision, so the developer comes in and says he wants $50,000 of his bond back, because we went through this on the planning board before. And so, who comes up with a number? You know, you said you have an engineer, a peer engineer, who is...
That's right, which is always how it's been done. The town's peer review engineer goes into the project and puts a number on the unfinished work.
Right, so that number is there, so now if that number is different, so, because we had this three times, wasn't it? That we had the number come in from the engineer, and at the time, the DPW head did it, gave the number. And then we got the money back, and all of a sudden he finished the project, and there was things that weren't done, and he walked away because it was easier to let the bond take it over, and the town had to pay a couple times. I just want to make sure that what you're doing, the numbers are going to be they're going to be high enough. For the simple reason, this is what happened in the past.
Well, there's a
Because technically, sorry, Cal, technically, our attorney at the time for the planning board, he said that at that time there was no reason, and legally there was no reason why we had to give any money back to the developer. And that was my big thing then, is because there was two, for instance, there was one, I think it was Hastings Road. The developer just bailed. And supposedly the DPW said, well, it's only going to cost $12,000 to finish the cistern and stuff like that. Problem being, when the developers, builders, contractors came in to finish it, it was like $25,000 or $30,000, and the town had to make that difference up until, and if they didn't, the road wasn't going to be approved by the town, and these people were mad. So I just want to make sure, or not make sure, I just want to see how it's going to work out. Because a lot of the builders, you know as well as I do, Cal, walk away. If it's going to cost them $50,000 and the bond's only for like maybe 30, bye-bye. So that's all, I just want to make sure. And it has teeth in it too, so you can make them do that.
Well, the markup on the number that our peer engineer puts on it is 30%. So there's a 30% markup on any of the unfinished items on top of what the engineer puts on there for a value. So there's 30%. So nobody's going to get a nickel back until that work's done and it's been certified that it's done and it's been inspected by our peer review engineer. Then that money can be released, except for the 30%. So if nobody's going to get any money until that work is done. So if they walk, they're not going to get anything.
Right, the builder isn't going to get anything because it's cheaper for him to walk than to actually finish it if it's going to cost him more money.
Well, I don't think it would be cheaper with a 30% markup.
Hopefully,
The other part, too, at least to me, is that you're dealing with an engineering firm. So they're going to take into account, rather than the rough guess that the DPW may have.
Well, that's basically...
This is their job to do.
One other
that
aspect
would be more
there,
accurate.
building on Mike's point, the engineer is going to use Mass DOT cost quantities, which are much higher than what DPW is going to calculate based on what they can get the supplies for it.
Well, I understand that, but the DPW isn't in the business like an engineer is. But still, engineers make mistakes, because we had... Do we have to get back up there? We had one problem, Blueberry Lane, where that's what happened. It was going to cost, so there wasn't enough money, so you didn't finish it. You didn't accept the road. Well, the people on that road were mad because the planning board didn't pursue it at the town meeting to make them, so the town cost money.
Well, my understanding on that one was there was enough in the bond, but that's somebody that...
That was a long time ago, Cal.
So that's, to your point, that's somebody that walked away from the entire bond.
Two
Not,
people did.
okay, so not just a partial release, whatever, from the entire
One
bond.
guy
So,
in Florida.
so I guess it could happen no matter how you structure it.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, it's a 30% markup on top of that. So the developer goes in and he pays to do the work, then he pays the bond to bond the work, and then he pays 30% on top of that for an additional premium that the town requires that he doesn't get back until the road's been accepted. So I think all those things
All right.
combined.
I just wanted to give you a little history to make sure that that's, because that can still, you know, that happens, because the engineers even make mistakes, but a lot less than the DPW. And I just wanted to see which way this was going. Okay.
And even now, Ryan, for instance, the DPW, I mean, you know, he won't be there forever, but even now, he's an engineer. So if he ever saw a figure that he didn't like, he would say something about it. Like Steve said, they use the DOT values when they put that together. And typically, what is it? It's curbings, top coat, trees.
Drainage, cisterns that were cracked, that were never inspected.
Yeah, a cistern if it's an area of wells.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. We require working drainage, which means manholes, covers to grade of the base coat, detention basin, all drainage leading to that detention basin, regardless, before you can even get a permit. You can't bond that. You can't bond that. We don't allow that anymore. So none of that infrastructure can be bonded. So it really, at the end, it comes down to your base coat, possibly
Trees,
a curbing,
sidewalks.
trees, if you can put them in there. Unfortunately, our subdivisions say trees every 40 feet. Doesn't say whether you can put them there or not, but
Depending where the sidewalk is,
That's right.
the whole 9 yards, yeah.
that's right. That's usually it that's left. Hydrants are in, water's in, drainage is in. That's it. So when you post bond for these things, you should be able to get back the money for the things that you completed.
I just
It's not
want to make sure they have an incentive to finish it at a good quality.
30%. I think that'll keep them interested. Thank you. Joe?
Just a quick question. If the peer engineer, does he work forwards or backwards when he figures out the, if I want to get 50% back of my bond and what's left over, does he price out what's left over or what was completed? Or how do?
Price is what was completed. So the price is already there.
Okay.
So once those prices are determined, okay, that's what you need to post bond, that's what you need for covenant. So once that's been determined, those are the numbers that you work with.
So what's left over is going to be always like 30% higher than what it takes to complete it?
The 30, yes, the 30% is left over. So if it was $100 to finish something, then there's another 30% tacked onto that. You would get your $100 back, but you don't get the 30 back until after the road's been accepted.
Joe, I'm expecting the engineer to say, based on the work that remains, you should be keeping X amount as a bond.
That's what I was kind of asking. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question about the initial bonding process. Like, is that same engineering team involved in okaying the amount that has to be backed by a bond? Like when the project starts,
They're the ones that determine it.
they determine what the bond needs to be. Okay, so it's the same team that's there at the beginning when the bond amount, like say it's 10 million for a big project.
It's the same engineer that does the peer review of the plan initially.
Right, and he comes back halfway through if somebody wants a partial release of, like,
It's going to
they're
be
halfway
our
done,
peer
same-
engineer, and
same person.
he will be sitting in on the technical review meeting where DPW is going to say, we want X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Fire department, the other departments, lighting.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's going to be calculating that into the bond.
But I guess the concern I have ultimately is, like, if there's mission creep, you know, and the project really ends up being way more than 10 million as they get in the middle of it due to, I don't know, wetlands issue or whatever. That, I think Stephen just alluded to this, in the midpoint when a developer's asking for a partial release, part of the job of the PE would be to make his estimate based on the true to make sure that the remaining bond covers whatever has to be done. So he's not only looking to make sure you're halfway done or whatever it is, but looking forward too.
The bond also only allows release of the determination must also include each item and their cost as listed on the performance guarantee bond being requested. So if something happens later and they spend more money, that's not included in the bond. They're not getting back a dime of the bond based on additional work. It will only be those specific things. So if they say they're building the road and they decide afterwards is not part of the bond to put in a playground, they can't come back and ask for part of the bond to be released because they built a playground. It would only be released on those items that are listed within the bond itself.
Understood.
So it's not an overall amount of money, it's these items. I've completed these items, therefore I get this calculated amount back that was agreed upon as part of the bond. I think it is the safest way to be, because we can't account for any variables.
Right.
But the bond itself, the only time they're going to get a partial release is on those things listed in the bond, and only the amounts approved by the engineer and the things that are approved by the engineer as completed.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Thank you.
Now, there's been a lot of work on this, and I think the idea was with a 4-year-long project, if a builder needs an extra small infusion of cash and he's 3/4 done, let him have some of that money back so he can then use that money to finish the end of the road or add the curb cuts or whatever it happens to be without having more financial issues.
We didn't have anything. It was even unclear as to what to do with the bond after town meeting. It was, one person might get it, one person might not.
Right.
You might get it before meeting, you might get it after meeting. We had nothing definitive on how it's supposed to work, and this is pretty clear. So when somebody comes in for a partial release, they know exactly what they're going to have to come with, and they're going to know exactly what they're going to get in return for what's been completed.
So in the $10 million example I was giving for the overall project being bonded at $10 million, if they come in and say, hey, I'm halfway done, can your PE review this? He gives it the okay. That initial $10 million project is bonded at 13 million, is that true? Is that the 30%? So it's bonded at 13 million. They say they're halfway done, they get a $500,000 bond release if the PE says they're good. So you're still backed at, the town's still protected at 800 or 8 million bucks.
That's right.
And the developer has free cash to do things like playgrounds or whatever they need.
First.
Yeah, it is ultimately his money. He's completed part of the project. We're trying to at least reach out and be fair to both sides.
All right. Thank you.
Roseanne, you have a question? Everybody else, we all set? Any questions from the board, public, we good? Okay, well, that being said, then I'll welcome a motion that we approve our...
Close the meeting first.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
I'll welcome a motion that we close the public hearing on the partial bond release.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, now, I will welcome a motion that we approve the partial release guarantee language 1401.6.1, addition to our subdivision zoning bylaws.
So moved.
Second?
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? All right, get through that one. All right.
Is there a Dillon Pond here?
I don't see anybody.
Say anything else.
Okay, he did contact me earlier in the week saying that his wife was on the verge of having a baby. I told him that if he had to cancel or postpone to let me know. That hasn't happened, so I would suggest you table item number 3 on the agenda.
What, you suggest what?
Table it. He's not here to make his case.
His request, so we can table number 3. Make a motion to table it.
Motion to?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll put that on for...
Well, let's see if he gets back to me. He may just...
Okay.
You didn't sound all that serious.
So, at our next meeting. 25th?
Let's make it the 25th because I'm about to advertise a public hearing for Verizon cell tower.
All right. Have a site plan?
Yes.
We'll put that back at the bottom of the pile. So now we have the March 7th minutes.
Read through.
Good?
See any issues?
So I'll welcome a motion that we approve the minutes from March 7th, 2024.
Motion made. Second.
Favor?
Aye.
All right, before you adjourn, I've got some paperwork for the board. I asked you all if you had any objections to the chairman signing a letter of support for the state's MVP grant, which will allow us to make a fix to the access road leading to our pump station off of Redemption Rock Trail. It's a grant that'll help us fix that flooding problem.
This initial grant would be for the planning phase, correct?
Yes. Perfect. It's going to give us our options on how much they cost, and then we'll go for a grant next year to fund the construction.
There you go.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Nope.
What else you got?
Thought that was too easy.
Not. Need you to fill out a form and bring it back to the treasurer collector. It's a form that documents that you are a U.S. citizen. Are you sure?
I'm gonna have to check.
I've never been more sure.
How do you get into?
An employee eligibility verification. What you're going to do is you're going to fill in the top half of the form and then give her a form of ID and you're done. I'm not going to babysit you on this. Patty's done it, I've done it. You get one.
Can I ask you a crazy question? You cannot, which this is a voted position, unless you're an alien, you can't be in a voted position.
I've given the piece of paper.
I got it. I'm just saying my piece. That's all I'm saying.
Federal government. Promise and paperwork.
That is. Okay, well, I got one last thing before we adjourn. Sadly, this will be Patty's last meeting tonight. She won't be here in April for the last meeting, so this is it for her. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank her for her time and her dedication over the last 5 years. And for me personally, I've really appreciated working with you for the 4 years that I've been here so far, and for all your help.
It's been a pleasure.
So thank you very much. No, the pleasure's mine. I'm sure it's a pleasure for everybody on the board too.
I miss you guys, but.
And all of us too. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we're done.